All right, and welcome to another Solar Pros episode. I'm Cesar Delgadillo.
Manny Ramirez.
And we're back, man. We're going to talk to you guys about something that comes up all the time. Something that people make it like that's the reason why they're not going to do solar, right? And I really think it's like, well, I look at it like this. Would you rather pay two $40 bills or $100 bill, Manny?
$240.
If you add two $40 bills, how much is that?
That's $80.
And isn't it better than paying $100?
Yes.
And so the question that comes up a lot, and I know you get it a lot, definitely, because I mean, if you're out in the field, you're going to get it a lot. They're like, I don't want to go solar because I don't want two bills. It's like, really?
And that's basically, I think, one of the top three questions that we get when we're out there in the field. Or one of the objections, I would say, I don't want to have two bills.
Yeah, or am I still going to have to pay APS? The answer is
yes.
Yes. We're connected to their grid. Yes. We're connected to their grid. You're going to get a connection fee.
A connection fee?
Right? But explain a little bit, Manny, on how it works when and why having two bills is better than having one APS bill.
I'm going to go back a little bit because I would say 2016, 17, a lot of people who have solar with Solar City or even Sunrun, right? APS was charging you for net metering, right?
Yeah.
So they will charge customers anywhere from $20 to $30 a month, right? Averagely, right? Every month. No matter what, winter, summer, you're paying $20 to $30 every single month.
Yeah.
Well, now it's a little bit different because people, number one, are always still going to get an APS bill. That's regardless whether you
got credit or you're going to get that bill.
You're going to get that bill. But nowadays, especially depending on your offset on your solar system, you're going to get a bill, but it's not always going to be a bill where you're going to have to be paying APS. Sometimes, depending if your system generated a little bit more electricity than what you actually consumed.
What months are we talking about in that time period when that happens?
I would say from January to like April is when January to April and maybe November, December.
And December really depends if you're one of those that wants to light up your house.
And your Christmas lights?
You want the airplanes to see your Christmas lights shining and all that. Well, yeah, you're using a lot of power even in the wintertime here. But if you're conservative throughout the winter, which most people in Yuma are because that's where they take advantage of the low consumption.
Of course.
And your AC is not kicking in all day like it is in the summertime. Yeah. Well, your bills go way, way, way down, right? And what happens to that relationship with the solar during those months?
When you're consuming more than what you're actually using, all those kilowatts that your system's producing, they don't just disappear, right? So what happens with all that extra electricity? APS claims it.
Right.
And APS sells it back to your neighborhood, right? So it goes back to the grid, everything gets reported. So let's just say, for example, 1 month, there was 300 kilowatts extra you didn't consume. So what will APS do? They'll credit you back those 300 kilowatts for the following month. So that's when people start getting credits back in their bill.
Yeah.
So in their bill, they're going to see a little negative dash and then a dollar amount.
Right.
And I've had certain cases where people are like, how come I have to pay $35? I'm like, ask a negative in front of it. So you get $35 back.
Yeah, I had somebody very upset. It was $121, I believe. And they're like, what the hell? $121? I don't even pay this without the solar in the wintertime. What's going on here? And then before I was able to reply, I was like, oh, wait, that's a negative sign in front of it. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But, it
does happen a lot.
You got to know how to read your bill.
Exactly.
That's very important for when you're a solar client, especially at the beginning. A lot of people start getting nervous because they get a $60, $70 bill their first month after they went solar. Well, first of all, we don't know the cycle when it kicked in.
Which is very common.
Say your cycle ends on the 10th, for example, and your solar didn't kick in till the 25th. Well, that was 15 days. And so give it a couple months to really see where you're at. Give it a year before you start to panic to think like, is this solar really working out for me or not? Like, relax. Dude, what I do know is that, number one, it's not going to go up even if you did a purchase option where there might be some interest on the loan that you got, perhaps. Even that is not going to keep up to the rate of where APS is escalating every year. And if you got a fixed lease payment, then you're good because you're paying maybe 12, 13 cents a kilowatt hour when APS is at 16, 17, perhaps depending on your situation. On peak, 25 cents. So you're cutting down, you're shaving down your utility costs at some level. Just be patient, and if you have questions about it, really talk to your solar representative.
All my new customers is like, after I'm done with the consultation and the sales pretty much done with, and we're like, our first appointment will be when you get your first bill. Actually, your first 2 bills, because that's when we need to help you understand and read your APS bill. So I'm like, this is where the credits are. This is where you're gonna get credited back. This is what you need to pay. How do some people out there, like, I don't know how to read my APS bill before I even joined solar.
Right.
So imagine a lot of homeowners.
You just know you have to pay it.
I just see the dollar amount and you pay it.
I just had an auto pay. I didn't even want to know what it was.
Right. So now when you get your first solar bill, call your consultant. Reach out back to them. I'm like, hey, can you help me understand this? So in the later months, I know exactly what to look for, right?
Exactly.
Because it does get a little bit tricky, especially the first 2 months. I would say, like you mentioned, when the solar kicks in and when the APS, I wouldn't say was shut down, but pretty much when your solar was turned on.
It's important to point out something that I've noticed where people get confused. They get a statement by APS, they get their bill, and it says $35 solar credit. Okay, and say they're paying $100 for their solar. They're like, how the heck am I paying $100 for my solar, and my solar is only producing me $35? That's not the right way to read your solar production.
It wasn't a total of 135.
No, like your $35 credit that APS says that you're solar generating, that's on top of what you already used at your home. So the solar produced a lot more than $35.
It happens more in the summer, right? People, we produce a lot in the summer. So when customers see negative $35, negative $50, and it's like June, July, or August, people are like, how come it's only generating $50 in credits?
Yeah.
No, that's above and beyond what it already produced.
Right.
That's an extra.
That's what the meter read that was sent back to the grid. Right.
Yes.
So.
And lately, or I wouldn't say lately, a couple of days ago, I posted something on social media on Facebook, right? One of my customers sent me a picture of a check that they received from APS. Mm-hmm. And I was actually looking forward to it because this year, some customers should be getting a check back from APS from all those credits that they accumulated throughout the year. Yeah. Now, he sent me a picture of the check, and he sent me a picture of a letter that APS sent them saying that if you have credits over $25 accumulated, APS will issue you a check at the end of the year. After a
lot of people wouldn't believe that, right?
Bill, right?
It's funny because when we've said that in the past, a lot of people act like
yeah, right,
yeah, that doesn't happen to me, and it's like, yeah, it might not happen to you, but it doesn't mean you're not saving money. Just because you're not getting a check back from APS doesn't mean your solar's not working out for you. Yeah. It's working.
Some of the comments that I received on Facebook were like, that's a lie, it's a scam, it's fake, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's just that a lot of people fall into a different category where you might not be under that specific plan. People who got grandfathered in, for example, I'm pretty sure.
Like, I've never gotten a check, but my bills are always low.
Money.
And I save money.
Right?
Yeah.
So it just
let me rephrase it. I did get a check when I moved because I had credits established.
Oh, okay.
So when I moved from one house to the other, APS sent me a check. And I think I ended up losing it because I kept showing it to everybody. I'm like, look, APS sent me a check. I think I lost it, but anyway, that's a different story.
The check out there, not everyone who has solar is going to receive it. What would you say? People who go in solar this year, 2019?
And it also depends on the size of the system. Say you're using 12,000 kilowatt hours and your system's going to produce 13,000, 14,000 because it's a little bigger than what you need. Or you were using more last year and say your son went off to college, for example. And so now you're using a lot less because those teenagers will sit there and, play their video games, jump in the shower and let the water run for an hour and a half until it gets warm. And so they use a lot more power. So if you're in a situation where your initial analysis was done off of 20,000 kilowatt hours, and now you're using 15,000, you're obviously going to be in a situation where you're going to be seeing some of those checks sent back to you because you're overproducing, which it's good. But if you're in a situation where your bills are just low, you're not getting an actual check back, but you're getting low bills, that's already a win-win situation anyway.
So I just wanted to point that out because some people out there will receive a check. Not everyone who has solar will. It just depends on your offset, how much your system's producing. If you're breaking even with your solar system, well, pretty much that's a win-win, because next year you're going to be saving even a little bit more and a little bit more.
Yeah. And even if you're getting a relatively, medium-sized bill in the summertime and you're paying $100 on top of your solar, you're still paying that to the utility company. Well, it just means that, the size of the system that you have might not be, as big as it could be, but sometimes it's because your roof didn't provide enough space. Sometimes you got enough space on your roof, but there's a lot of shading. Whatever the case might be, there's not every situation with solar is going to cover you or be in a position where you're getting money back from APS. But I do guarantee you this: whatever you are consuming and paying for the solar is going to be less than what you would have consumed and paid for the utility company.
At that rate.
So don't complain if you're getting solar or some APS bills. Just be happy that you partially, at least 60, 70%, 80% of all of your usage is happening through solar, because that portion of it, you're saving money.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because some customers actually don't have enough roof space. Mm-hmm. They will want to be 100% covered, but unfortunately they can't because of the roof space.
Yeah, I have a situation right now. We were hoping to put 26 panels, but we can only fit 20. So, that's all we get, because that's what the roof allows.
Yeah.
Sometimes so there's different elements and there's different situations that determine how your solar produces. But as long as you deal with the professional, as long as you deal with someone that's really looking for your best interest
and explains.
Yeah, and you understand, like, hey, I'm not covered 100%. I might be covered 70%. So yeah, I am going to get a second bill from APS, but that 70%, that's where I'm saving my money through the solar. Right.
An important thing to understand is that your bill, if you have solar and your neighbor has solar as well, your bills will never be the same.
Yeah.
So it just depends. Because that's the number one thing that I hear a lot. Well, my neighbor has solar, or so-and-so has solar, and their bills are this much.
There's a reason why people say, hey, don't compare yourself to others. Not even in your solar systems, right? Yeah. Now, if you bought a Chevy Silverado and you got a Chevy Silverado, then we're comparing apples to apples. Maybe we can say, but even then, you might
your payment's different.
You might drive different than me. Yeah. Like I drive speed limit. I drive slow, dude. I'll be like 50 miles an hour all the way to Phoenix. Meanwhile, you probably take an off-road trail in between Tacna or something just to try out the 4x. And so a year later, yours is maybe not as good shape as mine, and mine has better. Oh, I'm happy with mine. You're like, nah, mine sucks, man. The suspension's all screwed up already.
A lot of gas when you're conservative.
My suspension is shot a year into it. Good thing I have the warranty. That's when to go off-roading, not after the warranty, right? So it's just impossible to be in the same situation where you ask your neighbor and you expect the same exact outcome.
That's why it's
everything's
very
customized
to understand and to know how to read your APS bills after you go solar. And if you have questions, call APS or call your consultant. I would say they should be able to go out there and explain everything to you, so you have fully aware of what's going on under your house.
Yep. And 2 bills is not necessarily worse than one bill. Again, I'd rather have 2 bills that equal $80, 40, than one bill equaling 100 that is going to continue escalating every single year. So with that, unless there's anything else you want to add, Manny?
I think that's enough for right now.
That's enough for right now. All right, so don't be afraid of that second bill from APS even when you go solar. Well, thank you for tuning in. We'll hit you up with another episode of Solar Pros.
Until next time.